everyone, it's Ellie Mae with Silhouette Secrets Plus, and I am back with some tips for you with your electrostatic mat. Now the electrostatic mat is new for Silhouette, so these tips will apply to your Cameo 5 machines, your Curio 2 machines, and also the Portrait 4 machines. Anytime you are using the electrostatic mat, these tips will help. It doesn't matter that I am demonstrating on a Curio 2, it will apply to all electrostatic mats. So keep that in mind, even though I'm going to demonstrate on the Curio 2. As you can see, even if I had the other machines available to me, I don't have any space to put them because the Curio 2 is a large format machine. The Curio 2 does have a cuttable space of 12 inches by 12 inches. So I'm going to give you some tips on using the electrostatic mat, and I'm going to demonstrate a couple of different sizes using letter and 12 by 12 cardstock on the electrostatic mat to show you how it should be set up. So I have about 5 tips for you, but they all kind of work together. So it's somewhere between 3 and 5 tips. So first off, your electrostatic mat is powered. It is powered on and it is powered off. On the Curio 2 specifically, the button is white. So the button is light white for off and bright white for on. Now, after the cut is done, it powers off. On the Cameo 5 and the Portrait 4 mats that will be available, there is an actual button that you push and it has a little light on it that will light up when it's on and it's unlit when it's not. So those are the main differences between the electrostatic mats. For the Cameo 5 and the Portrait 4, it is an additional accessory that you would purchase that connects to your machine. And I will have more information on that as the supplies come available. For now, I'm going to use the Curio 2 with the electrostatic mat because it comes with it. It is your main source of cutting. So we're going to cover a couple things here. On the Curio 2, your touch panel, you have light white is off, bright white is on. Now, it is very difficult. We did give them feedback on this, but one way that I found to work with that, I will throw up a video here, and it's going to show you the light white is off and the bright white is on. Now, if you take your hand and kind of shadow that light, depending on your situation in your room and the lighting, you'll be able to see this a little bit easier. And that's what you'll see me do in videos when I am demonstrating that, is I just kind of take my hand and shadow it so I can tell if it's on or off. You do have to turn it on to start to build that charge. So let's go ahead and set that up. So here is my protective sheet. It is a durable sheet of plastic. It is thick. You want to use this sheet only when you are working with the electrostatic mat. Do not try to cheap out and use other products. If you cut through and you damage your electrostatic bed, you have to replace it. And that is not a machine fault. That is user error. So especially while they're new, I recommend using all the supplies that are made for the product. So I'm just going to place this carefully over top of this 12 by 12 space. Now it is a little bit more difficult. It is going to be much easier for you to do this from the front of the machine than it is for me to do it from behind the machine. Keep that in mind. So this is light white right now, which you can't see, but I'm going to push it and it's going to turn brighter white. Now, the longer that this sits in this charging area, the more it's going to charge. So you want to be patient. This is not a slap it and go method. It is going to take time to learn, and it is going to take time for you to set up. Now, is it worth it? In my opinion, yes. And as you can see, I have been testing and cutting and making mistakes, and I have had successful cuts. Print and cut on 12 by 12. Check out the YouTube channel for more information. I have gotten successful cuts. I've also had mistakes because the charge wasn't there. Is it worth it? I think it's going to be a great feature if a user is willing to learn how to use it properly. It does take time to get it set up and to do it right. So once it's on there, the longer it is on, longer the machine is on, longer that the electrostatic bed is on, the more charge you have. So now that it's been on there, I'm going to smooth this down. And in some ways, it's good that I get to talking because it gives it a chance to charge. You do not want any air bubbles. You see my fingers lifted that up. So make sure your fingers aren't sticky. You do not want any air bubbles between the mat and the bed underneath. Now, I've also been asked if a brayer would help with this or a squeegee. And originally I thought it might be a good idea. You can definitely try it. Just make sure not to damage your electrostatic bed. I don't think it's necessary. Your hand strength is more than enough to do it. And the more you do it, the better you will get at it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my hand, and your arm is going to have more Hulk strength than the housing or a blade. So keep that in mind. I'm just using my fingertips and I'm trying to move that. You can see that it's not moving. I am trying. It's not moving. The charge is there. So that's our first step. Next, I'm going to take a piece of paper. Now, I had this paper sitting out, and one thing that you're going to notice, this paper is curled. This I noticed. I'm not sure this is going to stick. With the electrostatic mat, the material needs to be completely flat. This was flat when it came out of the package less than an hour ago. It's been sitting on my table. Humidity affects paper curling just like this. So if you have any form of humidity, low, high, watch how it affects your paper. It does affect the paper. So I'm not sure this will work. I have a piece of vellum here that is completely flat. So you can see if I just set it down here, this area here, it's not completely flat. That means that it may not hold a charge. So I'm going to set that one aside. If I move this over here, I can feel the charge. It's static. It's holding that down. It's not fully secure yet, but I want you to be able to experiment with this and test it. Now, if I move this and place it up in the top left-hand corner where my software would recognize that page for the letter size sheet of paper, and then I'm going to smooth this down as well. And I'm going to give that a second. Now, the first thing that you need to do is build the charge, and that's what we've been doing. You need to be patient. You need to follow the steps, and I'm showing you how I learned it at Silhouette Summit. They had excellent demonstrations on what to do, and when things went wrong, I learned what not to do, so I can share those with you. Also, with my testing that I've been doing, I've been learning lots. So I want to share this with you because this electrostatic mat, especially for Curio users, because it is what comes with the machine, is going to be very, very important to learn for your success. So I want to share those with you because I do feel that everybody can be successful with this machine if they are willing to give it a time to learn. So the longer you have it on there, the more that charge is going to build up. It's still powered on, and it will stay powered on until either you shut it off or the cut is complete. After the cut, and this is tip number 2, after the cut is finished, the electrostatic bed will turn itself off. You need to remember that. So when you go to set up the next project that you're going to cut, you have to turn it on and build that charge again. Again, in the beginning, it's going to seem like it's a lot of steps to cover and to get done. But the number one goal is the success of your project. If you get a successful cut, it is more than worth the steps that you go through to set it up for that. 100%. I do think that, especially when we're talking about these thin materials such as vellum, tracing paper, or on my list to test is tissue paper. So watch the Silhouette Secrets YouTube channel for more information that's coming out about these as I test these materials. Now, I have tested print and cut. Print and cut works. I tested on letter, and I've also tested on 12 by 12 cardstock. So that's what I want to demonstrate for you next, is putting a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock on your electrostatic mat. We now have the ability to cut matless with the electrostatic mat at the size of 12 by 12. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to reach over here and turn this off because I'm not going through the full cut. You can watch those videos on the Silhouette Secrets YouTube channel of the full process. But once it's turned off, it still holds that charge. So if I try to move this, if I use some Hulk strength, you're going to see that it's going to, because I've hit the off button, it will start to lose that over time. It's still there. So if I just carefully lift this up, you can see it's still held down. Okay. I'm breaking that charge by releasing that. Now I'll go through all the same steps again. So I'm going to release the charge on the protective mat. It is not necessary to do that after every cut. I found that the protective mat stayed in place and I could reuse that I don't have to lift it off every single time. Now, if you have materials on that you've cut through, then you might want to take it off and dump it. Just make sure that you are keeping these channels here on either side completely free of debris. Do not let pieces fall down in these channels. And I just push the button. Okay, so I'm going to reset that. So this is still here. If I wanted to, I could release the charge. I'm just going to leave this because it's still there. The bed is turned off right now, but it still has that charge. So I'm just going to push the button. Bright white is on. I'm going to, just for my own peace of mind, smooth that back down. You can see it's not moving. If I used Hulk strength, it would. So I have a piece of 12 by 12. This is just Recollections cardstock. It's great for practicing on. I have the ability in my printer to print with the Canon TS9521C, which is my model, that I can print 12 by 12, which is what I did with these. And there will be a video on the Silhouette Secrets YouTube channel. So I'm just going to place this down on the 12 by 12 cuttable area. I'm going to give it a few seconds to kind of build that charge up. You could start just rubbing it into place. However, I found that it's a little bit easier if I just let it sit for a second, just a few seconds. It's not time at all. And then I can take my hand and I'm going to smooth that down. You want to get any air bubbles. One of the most important factors is going to be that your material is completely flat. No creases, no folds, no bent corners, no texture. It needs to be completely flat. It needs that smooth surface in order to maintain that charge between the protective mat and your material. The more you can ensure that and do this properly, the better your success. So I'm just going to smooth this down. And then I'm not moving that. It is held down by that charge. This is going to be one of the most important features for you to learn for success with your Curio 2 or when you're using the electrostatic mat with the Cameo 5 or the Portrait 4. So very, very important things to learn and to do properly. Now, another thing that I will mention here, another tip, is you want to also keep in mind, especially when you're starting, keep your designs away from the edges of your materials. If that blade does happen to catch on the edge of your material, if it lifts at all, it is going to break that charge. So it is going to take time, it's going to take patience, and it's going to take practice, just like it is when you learn any new skill. So the final tip I have for you is to buy extra materials. It's new. It's going to take time to learn. As you can see here, even with all of my experience. Oh, and I almost dropped a piece in there. Even with my experience, I have some miscuts. That's normal. That's learning. This is not a waste to me. First off, my kids can use all these scraps. This isn't a waste for me. This is a learning. This is an investment. This is how I learn what is possible with this machine and what I'm doing wrong. I will throw up some links in the description. I did find a pack, and what I've been using is this vellum paper, and it is 93 GSM, but it comes in a pack of 100, and it wasn't that expensive. So it's a great way to learn with thin materials. I've already learned that I put this to the limits, and maybe not the limits, but the limits of my experience right now on day 2 with this machine for doing a very intricate cut with the electrostatic mat on vellum. I am sure I will get it, but it's going to take time to practice and to learn. So hope those tips have helped, and I wish you the best of success with your Silhouette Curio or your Cameo 5 or your Portrait 4 with the electrostatic mat. Make sure to like, subscribe, and click that bell for notifications. Watch the Silhouette Secrets YouTube channel for more information, and also the Silhouette Secrets Teachable for more step-by-step classes coming soon. Have a great day.